How are you, ladies and gentlemen? Not only is today day 2 of training camp, but it also is Hot Takes Wednesday. Now, I almost thought about skipping this week's Hot Takes since we're in the middle of training camp and I wanted to get you guys a recap video of day 2, but I have yet to miss a Hot Takes video every Wednesday since starting it last season. And I can't stop the streak now. Depending on how many updates or information that is shared after day 2 of training camp, I may or may not have a recap video this evening, as it's pretty hard to find the time to do a double upload, but I'll see what I can do. Anyway, if you're new to the channel, I feature and react to your Bulls hot takes, so if you have any hot takes and want to be included in next week's video, feel free to leave your takes below in the comments or in the Bulls Central Discord. So with that, let's get into the takes, shall we? So what's going on, everyone? You're listening to Bulls Central here. Hope you're all doing well. Our first take comes to us from Albin Sabanovic. AK signed all of these players to make a splash of a trade if things don't work out. We have assets and can easily trade for an elite superstar to pair with Lavine. It's an interesting take. I mean, if this team doesn't work out, as in they're outside of the top 8 heading into the trade deadline, the Bulls have much bigger problems than trying to figure out how to turn all those assets that they just brought in and exchange it for a superstar. Not only that, but if things end up not working out with this crew, it likely means that Lonzo and DeMar aren't playing up to their contract, which makes them much more less tradable because teams aren't going to be wanting to take on their contracts when they still have 3 or 4 years left on it, respectively. You could throw in Vucevic in that mix as well, and he would actually be, coming up on an expiring contract the following season in 2023, so his contract could be enticing to an extent in a trade. So sure, in theory, you could send a massive package of Vucevic, DeMar, and Lonzo if this experiment just completely implodes, but then for who, right? Like, it also has to be a superstar level player that a team is looking to move. Maybe Joel Embiid if he grows frustrated in Philadelphia, depending on how the Ben Simmons situation plays out. Maybe Damian Lillard if the Blazers continue to disappoint yet again. Or maybe one of the Nets' big 3 they would potentially want out. I mean, really, outside of that, I can't think of any superstars that a team would be willing to give up any trade package that would include those 3 players. You're not going to get guys like Giannis or Luka or even Kevin Durant for a package like that. So in short, it's an interesting hot take, but no, I don't think AK signed all these guys to use them as trade assets in case things don't work out. No, they're wanting to make sure that this does in fact work out and they start winning now this season. Next, we've got Axel Isin, and this one is kind of related, but the take is the Bulls will reach the second round of the playoffs, re-sign Lavine, then trade Vooch and DeRozan for Anthony Davis and become true title contenders the following season. Well, I don't think the Bulls making the second round is much of a hot take. I actually think it's realistic for the Bulls to get to the second round this season, even though I do think, they're not title contenders, but after doing that, trading Vooch and DeRozan for Anthony Davis, I mean, first and foremost, I'm not even sure the Lakers would do this. Like, are they really going to want players who will be 32 and 33 by that time, while LeBron will be 38, and giving up a star big man who will be 29 by then, still in the peak of his prime? I mean, if the Bulls could somehow pull that off, it would be incredible. But even then, you also have to consider Anthony Davis's health. The guy has notoriously been injured in and out of his career, and now with him heading into his late 20s, will those injuries become even worse? But yes, a healthy Anthony Davis alongside Lavine, Lonzo, and Patrick Williams as the Bulls' core, yeah, you better believe that's going to be a title contender. But I just can't see the Lakers agreeing to this trade, although they have become the retirement home Lakers, so who knows, maybe they'll want to get even older as a result. Next, we've got Krylie Golansky. Troy Brown Jr. will be the Bulls' 6th man of the year, not this season, but next, by taking his offense to a different level and continuing to improve his already good defense and be a crucial part in a deep playoff run next season. Look, I am super high on Troy Brown Jr. I think he's a very underrated defender. We just didn't get to see much of him last season after we traded for him due to all the injuries that he had. But what we did see from him, and even before when he was on the Wizards, is a young player who has a lot of potential to be a solid two-way player in this league. You look at his skill set, and that he already has shown his ability to be a scrappy and pestering defender. If you guys remember that first home game after the trade deadline where the Bulls played the Knicks, in which Troy Brown Jr. was all over Kyrie Irving that night, which ultimately led to the Bulls winning that game with his clamps on the defensive end. Now the question is, can Troy Brown Jr. take his offensive game to the next level? I mean, he has the athleticism and moves to be able to get there and be a huge glue guy for the Bulls team going forward. So yes, I agree, he can be the Bulls' 6th man of the year, not even just next season, but it's possible that it could even be this season because he's fully healthy now, and I can't wait to see how he picks up where he left off before going out last season. Next, we've got Landon Boyke. If we have a disappointing season, as in barely make it in the play-in tournament, should we be looking at this coaching staff because of the talent on this roster? I mentioned before, I actually had a video prepared, but then shifted to another one because of some breaking news, but it was about Billy Donovan and what this season for him means and his future with the Bulls. And yes, I don't even think that it's really much of a hot take. If the Bulls barely make the play-in with this talent, yeah, this coaching staff should be scrutinized, and I wouldn't be shocked if Billy Donovan didn't get fired if the Bulls put up that type of performance this upcoming season. Obviously, some of it would be on the players as well with the level of talent on this team, though. A lot of it is on coaching to get these guys to work together, make sure they fit together, and sacrifice for the greater good of the team. That's on the coaching staff more than anything, and Billy Donovan will not be around by next season if he isn't able to figure things out in getting this team to win now. Next, we've got Wade is Dad, which, by the way, this is from the Discord. Feel free to join the Discord. The link is in the description below. But the take is the Bulls are going to burst onto the scene and be true dark horse contenders for the finals this year and make a run like the Suns/Heat have the past 2 years. I mean, this season is going to be an interesting one because there's such a wide spectrum for where this Bulls team can fall. They have the talent, as you mentioned, to really come out of nowhere if everything is clicking, every player knows their role, and they play it well, for the team to really be dark horse title contenders that no one was anticipating, kind of like the Suns of last year or the Heat the year before that. Or it can go on the complete opposite end of the spectrum because the East is so competitive now to where the Bulls are towards the bottom of the end of the playoff seeding in the East and getting knocked out in the first round. Like I've mentioned before, I think the Bulls will finish as the 5th seed in the East, but I also wouldn't be shocked if they finished as high as the 3 seed or potentially even fall all the way to the 7th or 8th seed if they struggle to start off the season or take a while to gel and build that team chemistry. So sure, they can be dark horse title contenders. I just don't think it's likely, but it's not out of the question. Next, we've got Ruben Goudeau. 45 is cursed as a number for this team. Denzel Valentine will have a better year in Cleveland. You know me too well, Ruben. You knew I would bite on a Denzel Valentine take. Yeah, I do think the number 45 is cursed. No one should ever wear that number ever again, especially not after Jordan did. But no, I don't think Valentine will have a better year in Cleveland. I'm honestly shocked that he was actually able to get himself another contract in the NBA. I thought for sure he would be playing overseas next season. And I think for Valentine, this upcoming year will likely be his last in the NBA. Next, we've got I'm a Spooky Kitty. Interesting name choice. DeRozan will actually take threes this year and not be terrible. I think having the help he does now will free up him to take an open three from time to time. Not saying he'll be great, but he'll force defenders to respect him behind the line. Honestly, I could see this. I mean, the thing with DeRozan is he's never been a three-point shooter and likely never will be in his career. I just don't think that'll ever be a part of his game. However, in all the teams that he has played for on his career, he's generally been the number one scoring option, so he's always been heavily guarded by opposing teams. This will be the first time in his career where he actually won't be the number one scoring option, and not only that, but have two other elite scorers around him. That would, in theory, free him up for more open looks on the floor, even potentially behind the arc. So you're right. I mean, he might be more confident in taking threes as a result. Now, I don't think he'll all of a sudden become an elite three-point shooter. That will never happen. But like you said, respectable enough where defenders will have to make sure that they're still on him guarding the perimeter when he's there. I mean, even if DeRozan shot 32% from three, that would be decent enough where it gives the Bulls even more spacing with Lavine and Vucevic also being threats from deep on the court. I know 32% from three doesn't sound like much, but DeRozan also shot 25% from three his past 2 seasons, so yeah. Next, we've got Marquise Williams. If the Bulls make the playoffs, Zach Lavine will pass Devin Booker for most points scored in first postseason appearance. So I'm not sure if you mean first actual postseason game as an appearance, because I actually think Derrick Rose might hold that record when he played in his first postseason game as a rookie. But if you mean most points scored in a postseason as a whole across all games, I mean, the only way Lavine can pass Booker is if the Bulls go to the finals, because even if Lavine averages more points per game than Booker did in the playoffs last year, he would have to at least equal, or close to it anyway, the number of games Booker played, given Booker played all the way through 6 games of the NBA Finals. And because I don't see the Bulls making that kind of run, I can't see him passing Booker for most points scored in a first-time postseason appearance. Next, we've got Let's Talk Chicago Bulls. If the Bulls had gotten Kyrie Irving in 2017, they would have beaten either the 2019 Raps in the Eastern Conference Finals and due to injury upset the Warriors, or they would have beat the Heat or Lakers in the finals, saying that Kyrie isn't stupid enough to screw up the franchise and disassemble the team. Well, that last part is kind of key because Kyrie is a bit of a nut job and who knows what he would have done under Garpax, but I like that you brought up this take because I had completely forgotten about this possibility and all the rumors surrounding that at the time. I mean, people forget that the Bulls, before they traded Jimmy Butler, even though they had a horrible coach, they still had a star in Jimmy Butler that players wanted to play with. And one of those guys was Kyrie Irving, who was known to be one of Jimmy's good buddies, especially after having played on the Olympics team together in 2016. And because Kyrie wanted out of Cleveland after that 2017 season, it was very possible the Bulls could have been one of the targets had Garpax decided not to pull the trigger in trading away Butler, which of course led to buying out Dwayne Wade and waiving Rondo. So that option was all but out of the table at that point for Kyrie. Now, had Kyrie joined the team, could the Bulls have won the championship? I mean, it's pretty hard to say because even though Butler-Kyrie duo would have been nice, the fact of the matter is the Bulls still would have had to go through LeBron, at least in that first season, then also the Warriors. It's possible maybe the year that the Raptors won the title, it could have happened given the Warriors were injured and LeBron was no longer in the East, but even then, still have to go through a strong Raptors team led by Kawhi. So it's an interesting take on what could have happened, but the fact that Garpax still would have been running that team leads me to believe it would have somehow ended in failure. Let's do one more, and this one comes to us from Joseph Tamros. Patrick Williams does not show promise in the first half of the season, gets traded in a package containing Coby and draft picks. I mean, if Patrick underwhelms in the first half of the season, it would be still way too early to give up on him, not after having just used a number 4 draft selection on him. Coby I could maybe see, especially since he's still a draft pick from the Garpax era, but I can't see any way AK would give up on his draft pick after only a season and a half for a kid that is only 20 years old. They might be able to fetch a pretty good package for P. Will, Coby, and a draft pick, but no, not worth the potential of Patrick Williams breaking out into a star years later. I'll end it there for this week though, guys. Apologies if I didn't get to your take. I received a lot of them in this past week with everything going on. Like I said, I'll try to get to another video as far as recapping day 2 of training camp later this evening, just depending on whether I'll have time or if there's any significant news. Either way though, I will keep you guys updated even if it means it's tomorrow. As always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.